I'm good.
All right, stand by. It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Awesome new show this week. Lots of stuff going on. I'd say huge news in terms of interest rates, which obviously helps the real estate market. Amazing week. We just hit 10-month lows for interest rates this past week. So great news for home buyers, great news for home sellers. There was a big disconnect between buyers and sellers and lots of resistance. So huge jump. Interest rates, we'll talk about that. Obviously, it came on the heels of last week's job numbers. If you remember last week's show, I predicted that would happen just based on numbers that came out at the end of the week. So great news for us overall. I'll also look into kind of what we didn't have time to get to last week's show, look into kind of what home price forecasts are looking to do in the second half of 2025. Some areas predicting declines, which is interesting enough to see. Also, our investment fund just bought another property this week, one last week, one this week. This was a condo in the north end of Myrtle Beach near Highway 9. So we're buying a lot of stuff. We also just hired another additional acquisitions manager who comes in to help buy properties for people that come in off our billboards, radio, a lot of stuff online for instant cash offers through our fund. We'll talk about that. Overall. And also we had this on the list a couple weeks ago, if we have time, hopefully, is how to handle the delicate dance of buying first or selling first, right? We get that question all the time. We had someone this past week who didn't really understand what to do. They were so stuck on buying first. And then we explained to them how that can cost you money if you get in a bind and have to sell your property too quick. And so it all depends on situation, all depends on who you are. We'll kind of look at that. Also, some amazing success stories. Our team's been absolutely crushing it, burning at both ends. Last week was the busiest week of the entire year in terms of new properties going under contract. We'll break that number down, look at what happened just this last 7 days. In addition to where our team is looking to hire on our sales team, we have increased our spend on advertising. We talked about this before, looking to add some people. We're seeing a big shuffling of the deck in terms of agents in the marketplace around. So if you're listening and wanting to get into the business, we have a real estate school. We have step-by-step training, a scholarship. Reach out to me. We're hiring A players that want to join and serve clients at the highest level. And we'll talk about that on today's show. Also, if you want to come back and see a replay of this, you can go look at it on YouTube. Just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. We stream it there. You can also follow me on Facebook at Blake Sloan, or just look at Sloan Realty Group. We also stream it on LinkedIn, and you can also find it on your favorite podcast areas as well. But lots of great stuff. Make sure you stay tuned in today's show.
For any new listeners, Jesse, give you an update on just who Blake is. It's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Yes, this is the bane of my existence in this business. I tell you, I see it over and over and over. It's the whole reason why I do this show. It's why my purpose behind it. We've done it 15 years, I think, on the station, and it's still the same problem since I started. And as I've done it more, the problem has become more clear. And the main problem that consumers have is they make this massive mistake of thinking that all real estate agents are the same. They look at them as a commodity, right? And they think it's just putting it on the market, but like that's just one small single thing. And so the reality is that they're not a commodity. It's a service-based business, and it's got a major problem. In addition to being a service-based business, it's a three-pronged problem. So number one, service-based business, which means it has to deal with people and how well they execute. And if you've been to any restaurant before, you notice that people don't execute very well all the time, right? Second thing, it's a very high-ticket item, which means a lot of money. It means people are much more cautious about it, much more strategic about it. And the third thing has a very long sales cycle. And so you had long sales cycle, high-ticket item, and service-based business. That's a massive recipe for disaster. And here's the crazier part. For most people, that's their largest asset. And so you're gambling your largest asset with these random agents. For example, I'll talk about this week. A friend of mine, I'll call him acquaintance, who does a service-based business for me. They listed their house, going through a divorce, listed their house, and they sent it to me and say, hey, have your people sell it. And I'm thinking, I'm definitely have my people sell it because you didn't list it with me. But the second thing is they message later on, oh, under contract in 2 days. Look it up. They underpriced it like $50,000. Well, of course, under contract in 2 days because you underpriced it. The agent had sold like 4 homes in history, and there was zero marketing plan to it. And so that person ended up costing themselves $50,000 in equity, thinking they'd had a great outcome. But the reality, they didn't have a great outcome because they didn't understand from a true expert what they could have pushed and how much money they could have got for the property. I see this every single week. And so here's the deal. This is why I do the show. That same example is why I do the show. They're probably watching, they're friends of me online. But it's just one of those things that I'm going to tell them next time I see them, hey, dude, you probably left a little bit of money on the table. That's why it sold so quickly and you underpriced kind of what you had there when I looked it up. But the reality is, here's the deal. The single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period. It's not really when you list it, what the property looks like, the photos look like. That's just one small piece, right? What people don't realize when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. And if each one's handled correctly, and that's a lot to handle correctly, right? For one single person, if all handled correctly, puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any time. That could be anything from pricing strategy, like that example, from photo quality, photo order. Does the agent actually answer the telephone when they call back? And I just saw another data. We have a documentary online. You can view it at blakesloan.com. And we show research from a national company that 3,000 brokerages, they call it, across the country. And less than 50% of the calls, inquiries, got called back by an agent. So think about that. 3,000 plus brokerages, they called. It's obviously a common issue in the industry. And they call to buy a house. And less than 50% of the time, they get called back. Why is that? It's not because people are so lazy, because one single agent is trying to juggle all the balls, and they're trying to do that, not just your listing, but 5 or 10 other listings. And the reality is there's just not enough time today to be able to do that. And so what people don't realize is that it's a very old school, broken business model. And so it's just like any doctor, any lawyer, right? If you have one person who's executing it, they can only execute at a certain level based on their ability, based on their commitment to excellence, and based on their systems and processes. And so most people don't have any system and processes. And so just like if I'm charged with a crime I didn't commit, or somebody suing me for everything I own, the last thing I want is the cheapest attorney. The last thing I want is my friend's cousin attorney who's only tried 2 cases in their lifetime, right? I want the absolute best, most aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law, who is an absolute beast in the courtroom, who has lots of experience, right? But for some reason, when it comes to our largest asset, people throw the common sense out the window and just go with a friend of a friend, the cheapest one. Like, they ask the wrong questions. They have the wrong process. They don't understand how to even choose an agent. I know that because I never get the right questions. I talk about this all the time. The only question you ever get is how much you charge. And I shared this yesterday again with somebody. I said, if I buy anything in my entire life based on price, and I base it on the cheapest price, is there any instance in the entire history of my life where I'll get a good outcome? No, right? For the cheapest car, guess what? I'm gonna get a terrible car, breakdown, terrible experience, right? Cheapest attorney, terrible experience. Cheapest doctor, terrible experience, potentially death, right? Anything. I was telling them, if I buy the cheapest batteries, AAA batteries, guess what happens? My thing is not working very long. And so, but for some reason, people want to use that logic and strategy picking a real estate agent. You don't got to be the most expensive. The point is you're just asking the wrong question. And so you want to understand, like, how do I make sure I get the right person? And that's what this whole show's about. So help you understand, like, look, there's a massive difference in who you use. There's 6,000 agents here in our marketplace. Each agent sells less than 4 homes per year. That's 1 per quarter. There's not any money for them to eat with, much less spend money in marketing. Here's the crazier part. They're so desperate. We talked about this on a Zoom before I came here, actually on the way to the station with some other agents in other parts of the country, that they are so desperate in most cases, the other agent on the other side or the listing agent, if they sold 4 homes, they give the dirt on their client in 2 seconds and throw you under the bus because they're just trying to get the deal done. It's ugly and that's unfortunate, but guess what? That's the reality. And so if I know that's the reality, I want to play the game to win. And that's what we're able to help educate clients on, understand that here's the deal. The single most important variable, like I mentioned, comes down to the agent you choose, and specifically how well they execute. Like I mentioned, there's 100 plus variables for each listing. And so if I have one person doing all that on one listing, and not to mention they're trying to work with buyers, which also has 100 plus variables when you're buying a property, it's simply physically impossible for one single person to juggle all those balls, right? The math doesn't math. It's just like having the same person McDonald's do the front register, the drive-through, and the French fries at the same time. Very inefficient. It does not work. Your experience will be terrible. The food would taste bad. The food would be cold. And that's why people have such a bad experience when they're listing their house or buying a house. It's because it's a very antiquated business model where you have all these single agents. Same thing. I started a big box store. I started a couple of bankers, me and 200 other agents. They didn't care about me. We didn't care about them. There was no alignment. There was no working together. And we were all individuals, right, who are generalists. And we all know if I'm a generalist, right, if I'm a jack of all trades, I'm a master of none. And that's exactly what happens. And so that's why the ball of communication gets dropped. That's why 50% of calls don't get called back when buyer inquires about them. It's terrible. And so the reality is you need to understand that there are variables and you do have a decision. The most important decision is the agent you choose. So you want to be educated on that. And so what I did, it's like, there's got to be a better way to do this. I looked at what people did outside of real estate and said, hey, the industry is broken. The business model is broken. How do we take this and flip it upside down and look at what people did outside of real estate in other industries and brick and mortar type businesses and bring that into our industry? That's what I did. And that's what guys in Forbes and Wall Street Journal, all this is I looked and built a system and process that's backed up by two things. Number one, a large team of people, and that people is a team of specialists. Each person specializes in what they do. So we have inside sales team, an outside sales team, a listing team, a buyer team, listing coordinator, closing coordinators, full-time videographer, full-time photographer, all that stuff in-house so that each person can execute at the highest level based on what their role is in the process. And so that's how you execute and create gaps for our clients. So what we do is we create a small gap through 118 different variables, create a small gap 0.1, small gap 0.2, small gap 0.3. You add all those up over 118. It's a massive gap that creates a massive competitive advantage for our clients. And so how I did that, we created a system process called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that sells homes twice as fast and for 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. I designed it. It's exclusive to us. There's been a lot of people lately trying to copy it, but they have not been able to duplicate that and build it out just from a financial situation and a system process situation. But the reality is it works very well. And you owe it to yourself to at least investigate, to at least look at it, to at least be open-minded, to say, you know what, maybe the old school way of doing things is not the way to do it. We talk about the system I designed is the iPad Pro and a world of cassette tapes. It's a whole different model, whole different world, and much more efficient in terms of how it works. And so if you want to know more about it, we have a whole documentary about it. It's at blakesloan.com. For buyers out there, guess what? 100 plus variables out there. And it's very difficult, right? You're talking about a lot of money that can be lost very easily. And you can think that you won, but in reality, you didn't. Just like the friend of mine I mentioned who sold their house in 2 days. And so for buyers out there, we have the thing called Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully with the most amount of money and the most equity in your pocket. So if you want to know more, reach out, call me. We're here hustling today, hustling tomorrow, every single day. Save me in your phone right now. Blake Sloan, 843-808-SOLD. Take a quick break, right back in a second.
Here with the only real estate agent in your market that I recommend, Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. And thanks for joining me today. You know, a lot of people may be thinking about selling their home, but they want to make sure they're getting the most money possible. What options do you have available to make selling a home easier?
Hey, Sean, we have 3 unique innovative options for home sellers right now. First, we have a program for maximum convenience, where I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars looking to buy homes at a fair price in the Myrtle Beach area. Or we have a program for maximum speed, where I can match your property up with over 100,000 plus active home buyers looking to buy properties here on the Grand Strand. Or 3, maximum value. They're a proven system. They'll sell your home twice as fast and for the 5 to 15% more money than traditional methods.
All right, thanks for keeping us up to date. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. We offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers that time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, take cash for home, or even rent.
That's great. And if the seller has a bid more time,
Use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get the home sold on your terms.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan, Real Estate Show. All kind of stuff going on. I tell you, we had the craziest week in terms of new properties under contract. The last week before last week's show, interest rates down to the lowest level in 10 months. So that's amazing. We'll talk about that, kind of what's going on with that overall. But looking at 2 main numbers, we talk about 2 main numbers here. the front windshield numbers. Hey, what went under contract last 7 days? And that's what really had the busiest week. It dropped a little bit last 7 days, but not too much. It's still rock and rolling. So in last week's show, there's 589 properties went under contract for $238,600,000, right? This week, 546. So we went from 589 to 546, not a big deal. From 238 million down to 207,619. So still over 200 million. Things are still rocking. I'm telling you, start to see a different buyer type come into the shoulder seasons. Typically have less children because children are back in school. They tend to like to avoid the crowds. They tend to have double income, no kids. You kind of always see it happen year after year after year. A lot of big money stuff tends to sell in these shoulder seasons. And so we tend to see a lot of higher end stuff start to move. Even the last 7 days, property at $3 million, a couple properties at $2 million, 16 properties over $1 million. Lots of big stuff that's still going under contract, even though technically the summer's over in terms of like school, most places back to school. So lots of great opportunity there overall. And one thing that we'll talk about in a second, interest rates, looking at last month's close numbers. Now, here's the thing. That's our rearview mirror numbers. They closed last month. Guess what? They actually went under contract 36 days prior to that. So you always want to keep both in your pocket to make good decisions by. So I look at data that's closed, which is what appraisers use, most of the industry uses. I've been tracking every single day in my office. We track how many properties go under contract, what the volume is, and along with inventory. So like right now, inventory-wise, we saw it went down last week overall in terms of how many properties, or there was about 1,740 properties where it was really getting higher, and it kind of went down all the way down to 1,680 last week, and it's bumped back up a little bit right to the low 1,700s, which is single-family homes for sale on the market in Horry County. So that's something that's really interesting to watch, as we saw a big run happen the last 2 or 3 weeks in properties as rates started to come down a little bit. You saw inventory go down, and then it started to build back up a little bit as that run rate slowed down a little bit. We'll keep watching that. Looking at closed sales from last month, they were up 2.2%, which is crazy. If you look at year versus year, it was down month versus month. So it always compares July versus July. So in this July, there was 1,008 homes sold. And so if you look at last July, it was 986. So not a huge jump there. If you look back previously in June, there was 1,030. It went down to 1,008 in July. Sales price for single family homes, 4.9%. That's median price, $384,440. Average sale price of 4.9% at $463,116. And again, that's very nuanced. So I'll tell you, we'll talk on next week's show. We'll talk about the micro market. Some areas seeing decline in price. Depends on how much new construction's there, right? You're seeing some different areas are declining in price a little bit. If you look at some of the national numbers, what's happening, they're seeing price declines, and really that's kind of some price correction. I was shocked to see it still saying that much of a positive, because what we're seeing on the ground is a lot of neighborhoods are seeing prices decline a little bit. Especially if there's new construction in the area or the neighborhood where they're just basically have enough margin in there to drop some prices and get the inventory down, which is hurting some resale property value. So looking at supply months inventory, it dropped way down just last month, where we saw a huge run. So last month is 4.2 months of inventory, which is down from the previous month at 4.6 months of inventory. And so we are creeping up there right to that buyer's market, which is 6 months. And right now we're at 4.2. So huge run, basically less properties in the market, which is good. If you look at the average days on market right now for a property to sell last month, it's 125 days on market. And here's the crazy part. That's of the properties that actually sold. If you look at the math and the data in the MLS, less than 50% of properties are selling right now. So if you list 100, about only 48 of them sell. And so the other 52, right, are taking it where they're getting relisted the same agent, or they're expiring, going with a different agent, or some very few are taking it and just quitting altogether. And so that's very interesting. So of the 50% of properties that do sell, they're taking 125 days on average to sell. And that's shocking for a lot of people that don't realize that. And a lot of agents don't even know that to tell their clients. And so that's something you want to bring into your strategy, where if you need to be moved, right, you want to make sure that we can outperform the market pretty well. Like, we're good, we're not a magician, right? And so we can outperform pretty good, but we got to make sure that we understand, hey, look, right now is a longer sales cycle. And so want to make sure that we can outmarket that and be priced competitively, but I can't be priced 20% above everybody else and sell it 50% faster. And so if you're a home seller, you want to understand that process and look at the data when you pick that. So one thing that's really driving that right now, we talked about this, I was talking about that Zoom earlier today with some top agents in the country, but the average showing per listing right now in our entire MLS, so that's every real estate company, gets only 3.3 showings per listing. So let's say it's 6 months, they're averaging 1 showing every other month. They have data, though, that tracks how many showings does it take to get a contract? Right now, it's 11.2, which is 12. And so that's, let's sorry, 11.2, which is 11. And that's one thing, it's down from where it was at 12. And so you're basically looking at 11 door swings, what my buddy called it in Tennessee, 11 door swings to get an offer. And so what we're really good at, if I can't force you to buy your property, I'm really good at getting 11 buyers in your door that like in your property is the property type they want. And so I'm basically a marketer in the real estate business. That's my forte. That's what I'm best at. My job is to get the exposure you need, get the eyeballs you need. Like, I can't change what your neighbor's yard looks like, what your yard looks like, what the outside of the neighbor's house looks like, what your neighborhood looks like. I can't control what the comps in the neighborhood are. I can give you that data, but what I can control is exposure. And the more exposure I get, the more demand we create, and the more money we're able to get for the property by driving up demand. And so I'm really good at driving eyeballs, and that's why we're spending $100,000 a month to drive eyeballs. And obviously, if I'm a home seller, I have a massive advantage because I have an agent who spent $100,000 a month to generate a lot of buyers, right? And so that's where the key comes in, and that's what makes the needle move, and that's how you sell properties faster and for more money, and that's how you hit the right leverage points. And so it's very shocking to think about it, right? It takes 11 showings to get an offer, but the average listing gets 3. That's why you don't list your property with your friend's cousin's friend who bartends part-time and sells real estate part-time. Because if there's no money to market, you're going to get on average 3 showings per listing. And the problem is you need 12 to get 11 to get an actual offer. And so that's something to look at too. Condo market's getting hammered pretty good. Sales down 17% last month for condos. Average sale price down 7.4% for condos last month at $258,000. That's compared to the same time last year. The crazy thing, if you look back just May of this year, the average sale price is $284,000. Right now, $258,000. So significant drop there, $30,000 just in the last 2 months. Median price for condos down 5.9% at $234,000. Supply was actually down a little bit month versus month. Right now we're at 7.8 months of inventory, which is a lot. It's a buyer's market. It's actually down from the previous month to 8.2. And so you saw a little summer run there, which typically happens. Same thing there with showings. The average condo in the MLS with every real estate company gets 2. If you listen to anything from the show, these are the 2 most important numbers. Showings per listing, the average showing per listing. So if you get an average agent, you're going to get 2 showings per listing on average. This is why you need to pick the agent that has a marketing plan and differentiation and eyeballs, right? The showings per listing it takes to get a contract. So how many door swings do you need to get a contract? You need 9.4. Again, average listing gets 2, you need 9.4. And so you need 4.5 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to get a contract. That's why you're seeing 50% of properties fail to sell. And the ones that do sell, it takes 125 days on average because they finally have to adjust their price because they're not getting enough traction with marketing. And so if you want your property marketed correctly, want to know more about that, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. The good news is hopefully we have a really good fall market here. The number one thing that's holding the market right back right now has been interest rates, right? Buyers are just hesitant. It's been near 7%. Right now, rates down massively, 25 basis points really, almost in the last week and a half. But right now, 6.55%, which is awesome. Last week showed 6.75. Right before that was 6.82%. So right now we're at 6.55% for a 30-year fix. That's a 10-month low. We have multiple 10-month lows this past week, which was awesome. It was at 6.57. Then it went down to 6.55. That's great news for home buyers, great news for home sellers. We think that once it gets below 6.5, you'll see a lot of buyers move. Gets towards 6, you're going to see the market back on fire, which is great. 15-year fixed rate right now, 5.92%. A 30-year jumbo, 6.7%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.12%. And a 30-year VA loan, 6.13%. So bottom line is things are moving right now. You're going to see a great fall market. If you're thinking about selling, take advantage of this small window because once it gets to past Halloween, between Halloween and Thanksgiving, everyone gets holiday brain, and it's very, very difficult to get your property sold. Right now, lots of big money coming in. Think about teeing it up the right way, and do me a favor. Anybody you know thinking about selling next month or so, have them call me, 843-808-SOLD. Take a quick break. Right back in a second with our Hot Buyers Alert.
3 minutes.
We'll cut one of those commercials off. That's all right.
Hey, WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's shows Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts.
Yeah, you have about 30 minutes.
When I'm moving on, one
Hey.
award for ACM Song of the Year.
I'll fire that bed when you got like 20 seconds left.
All right. Thank you.
For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service. That's why in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group markets your home on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan online at blakesloan.com, or you can call him at 843-808-SOLD. Start packing.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Hot buyers alert. My team and I are working a ridiculous amount of home buyers here. Look at my property, the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand area. We do this every week. We started a long time ago. Most agents promise the world. They just put the sign in the yard, then start marketing. Here we have buyers in waiting to buy something just like yours way before you ever call us. We've been spending $100,000 a month after month, to get buyers from all across the globe. And one thing we do is share how many active buyers we have with a username, password. Right now we're at 80,322 active home buyers, 80,322 active home buyers looking at properties. You're from $250,000 to $4.4 million right now. If you're thinking about selling, please give us a call, 843-808-SOLD. It's 843-808-SOLD. Like I mentioned, we outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. Right now, I got online Kevin Welch from Rayford, North Carolina. I got Richard from Groveland, Massachusetts. I got Harold from Conway, South Carolina. I got Thomas from Thomasville, North Carolina. I got Mansfield, Georgia. Boston, Massachusetts, Lexington, Kentucky, Pembroke, North Carolina, Whistler, BC, which is awesome, Arlington, Texas, Easton, PA, Honolulu, Hawaii. Shout out to Jason Jackson on my site right now. I got Cindy from San Francisco, California. So all over right now searching the site. And so if you're thinking about selling, call the people that already have buyers in waiting. That's how we increase showings per listing, aka door swings. That's how we get you more eyeballs. Reach out. Call us. Really quick success story. Big shout out to Mike and Karen. They own a beautiful home in Conway. He's a longtime listener on 7 acres. Recently decided it's time to sell, move closer to their daughter and grandchildren in Georgia. That way they have more time to spend their grandchildren. Mike's a longtime listener to the show. Big shout out to Mike. For a number of years, he knew exactly who to call first when they're ready to sell. We met with Mike and Karen, shared them how we had hundreds of buyers looking for exactly properties just like theirs, with no HOA, with acres of land. And we did a custom marketing plan, designed a custom marketing plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, drone photography with the acres, obviously. Then 2 weeks, they had a full price offer on their property. Now they're able to move to Georgia, put maximum equity in their pocket. They did not leave money on the table. And so if you want to be like that, reach out, call me, just like Mike did. Call us first, right? Don't be like the person I mentioned earlier, listed with a friend of a friend who had only sold a few houses, underpriced about 50 grand. They sold it in 2 days, but the problem was they left $50,000 of hard-earned equity on the table. You don't want to be like that. Reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. In addition to that, if you ever want to go online to get an updated stock ticker, right? There's no stock ticker on like HDTV or anything. So we have something for you, a great tool at blakesloan.com. You can put any property anywhere in the country on it with your address. You can get updated data, real time, saving your phone as a dashboard for all the comps, everything around you to make sure you can keep a value of your largest assets. You can get an updated human valuation, cash offer, whatever you need there. Just go to blakesloan.com or call me anytime, 843-808-SOLD. See you back here next week at the same time.